Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups, limited belief, relationship advice. The truth about alpha male dating advice. So this is a TODD V Dating, which is a YouTube channel. It's a really good channel, actually. And being in the relationship space / breakup specialty niche zone of YouTube, came across his channel fairly recently when I was looking at reaction videos, and his advice for dating specifically is pretty solid. Some people, when you do these reaction videos, a lot of times they're reacting to be a spectator, put someone down, call them out. I'm telling you, this dude's advice is pretty fucking clean. And he comes from a place that's not arrogant, but confident. And so, if you want to check out his channel, definitely go do that. I haven't watched this video yet, the truth about alpha male dating advice, but I'm really curious about, and the fun thing about this reaction video thing is I'll watch it fresh with you. But this one's interesting. The last 2 days I've done some things on Red Pill, and just went down into that rabbit hole a little bit, and there was some emails that I got and some comments and some questions about that. I think the reason why is there's just so many Red Pill videos now that it's going in a lot of different directions, and there's a lot of people out there that are getting confused about if they're doing something wrong, right? If they're not being alpha enough, or and I think that's what this video is about. Or not taking the right route. And it's like yesterday when I was talking to this client of mine, I said, trust yourself. Trust yourself that you're not looking for the exact right move when you date is actually a bad move, because there is no right move, right? There is no directions. There's no recipe to build the perfect cake, right? You're going to have some rejection involved and some things into dating. And I think trusting how you're going to react to that. I often tell people to go on bad dates. I often tell people, don't be afraid to spill a drink, not on purpose, but if a drink spilled, how would you react? Are you going to be beside yourself? I mean, I remember when I was in my early 20s, maybe 19, 20, I remember I spilled a drink with a group, and I was just starting to date this girl, and I was so uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, look back on it, it's like, what was the big deal, right? I didn't say, oh my God, but I felt it, uncomfortable. So we're going to watch this truth about alpha male dating advice. I haven't watched it yet. We'll dive into that a little bit and, get into the truth about basically alpha male dating advice. So we got Rye Flint, Roller Girl on deck. If you want to put in the comments below what your viewpoints on this video are, throw it in there. If there's any reaction videos you want me to check out or you think I should maybe review in a live stream, put them in the comments, please. Well, let's get this run rolling. This one I'm actually really curious about. So like I said, TODD V's he's pretty good.
Hey, what's up? It's Todd. Today I want to talk to you about a phenomenon I call alpha male or macho dating advice, and the disturbing trend that I've seen more and more and more of it lately. And this is pretty scary because this type of thinking and this type of advice really holds guys back in terms of learning game and having success with women. I know it held me back for a really long time when I was starting out, so that's why I want to talk about it. But what do I mean by this sort of alpha macho dating advice? Well, what I mean is the trend of speaking in very absolute terms and taking this kind of outlook that the girl can never get one over on me. The girl can never use me in any way. And to an extent, this is good, right? Because a lot of guys are coming into game as we call average frustrated chumps, to use a term from back in the day. They're coming in as guys who were frustrated, who've been walked all over by girls, guys who are bending over backwards and trying to impress girls. And it can be empowering a little bit to say, you know what, I'm standing my ground. I'm not doing this for you. I'm not going to supplicate. So let's talk about why this macho alpha male type dating advice sounds really alluring and appealing, but it breaks down in practice, it breaks down in the real world. Well, why does it sound appealing? Well, most guys, when they come into game, have been lost, confused, they've lacked direction. They've lacked a feeling of any kind of control over their dating lives. They felt like they're at the whims of a woman's decision. And so when you take on a rule that gives you the appearance of decision-making power, it feels like it's an improvement. It feels like things have gotten better, right? But think of it this way. If before a girl rejected you and it was at her whim whether she rejected you, she was in control. Now, if you have a rule that if the girl goes silent, you will reject her, she's still in control of whether it ends by going silent to you. You still have not gained any more control. If anything, you're going to lose more girls because you're losing them just based on silence instead of on an overt rejection. So you've lowered your odds and you haven't actually taken any more control of the situation, but it feels like you've taken control. It feels a little bit better. It feels a little bit more or less needy. It feels like you're in control. So you've made your emotions feel better, but in the real world, you haven't actually gained much. Maybe you have gotten rid of a little bit of neediness, and that is a good thing, right? Neediness is very, very unattractive, but why? Why is neediness unattractive? Well, a big part of it is that it shows insecurity. Now, if you become so caught up on a particular rule, you may have lost some of that neediness, but you're trying so hard not to be needy that you're actually being more insecure in effect. All right, I'm gonna give you a quote. This is a very interesting quote that I read a long time ago. And it said, if you can't put your power down and then pick it back up, you never really had it in the first place. So if you have to cling to this rule to hold on to your power, you actually don't have power because you've switched, maybe the girl had power over you and now the rule has power over you and the girl now through the rule has power over you, but you still don't have power, right? If you can't give a little bit and be flexible and then pick your power back up, then you still are lacking in power, right? And so what happens a lot of times is guys are so worried about being needy, they become even more insecure. So a situation like you have a date set with a girl and maybe she hasn't texted you that day and you're like, no, I don't want to text her because I don't want to be needy. And then what happens is the day passes, you never go on the date and you never see the girl again. Whereas any normal human being would just text, hey, are we still on? Which maybe isn't the best text in the world because it's slightly needy, but it's a million miles better than being unentitled.
This is a really good point because this actually comes up a lot. There's a lot of guys that ask me this, that how long to wait, or I'm not supposed to do this. This is a good point because it's semi-needy to say, hey, are we still on, or something like that. But it's also like, what's interesting about this is there are some people, this is what's interesting about alpha male. There are some people teaching women to be alpha females. There are some dating channels for women that are telling women to use the same tactics on men. So this is really interesting when you think about it, because who's going to win, right? They're saying to be mysterious, to not respond right away, to keep the guy guessing. And I'm like, wow, who's going to give in a little bit, or who's going to just be honest? Like he was saying, oh, are we still on? I haven't heard from you for a while. Yeah, that's slightly needy, but at the same time, it's also clarity, what's going on, because there has to be better communication, right? So let's continue this.
Entitled and not texting at all and not believing that you can stand up for yourself. And that's what happens with a lot of these guys. They become so concerned with not being needy that they become utterly unentitled, which is way more insecure, way more low value than being needy ever would. And understand that, asking for something, following, going along with something, it can be construed as needy. It could also be construed as entitled, as having self-belief, as having faith in your future self to handle a situation. And that's a much more attractive way to go. So what is wrong with this viewpoint? Why does it not work? The first thing is that it's very absolute. When you say, I will never supplicate to a girl, I will never call a girl back to this, I will never buy a girl a drink, never and always are really bad words to start having in game, because game is so variable and every situation calls for a different approach. So the same thing that may be really bad game 5 minutes in, may be really good game 45 minutes.
This is great advice right here. The fact that there's going to be different situations for different women, for different mates or partners, absolutely true. So having the idea. Now, if someone has a code of conduct like I never buy drinks, okay, that's all right. I'm personally not someone that's bought drinks when I'm single and I'm dating or something like that. But he's right. To have that in your head that you're like, I'll never, it kind of creates this rigid thing, right? You got to be open that when you're going to meet someone, and this goes back to what's going on now. There's a lot of channels. All women do this, all men do this. Feminine versus masculine. That's true, but there are some little nuances and exceptions there, and you're not leaving room for that. Now, having some strict boundaries on who you are and what you are. Certain guys, it works for them. That's totally fine. if a guy has that, and I'm going to show another channel that does that, totally fine. You have your rules, you stick by them. I think what happens is there's a guy adapting or adopting rules from someone else that doesn't have the same morals and values. And that doesn't line up very well for people. You've got to be authentic.
Minutes in, right? And if you are taking one path at all times, you're going to be wrong either at minute 5 or wrong at minute 45. So taking this very like by the rules, by the book, that kind of approach, you're guaranteeing yourself that you're going to be wrong often. You're also stopping your learning curve because you're stopping thinking. And a big part of learning game is thinking, so you're actually slowing down your learning as well. Final reason though that I'm going to get into why this doesn't work is that it's fundamentally not in alignment with female psychology. By thinking these things, you're basically acting like women are men. You're acting like women think and make decisions the way that you as a man do, and that's fundamentally not the case. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. All right, the assumption that this viewpoint is making is that if a woman doesn't like you now, she'll never like you. And if she doesn't treat you with respect now, she'll never treat you with respect. Both of these are fundamentally and absolutely wrong, right? If you talk to a girl for 5 minutes and get her phone number and then she's not responding to you or not agreeing plans with you, it's not because she fundamentally doesn't like you, it's because she has people in her life that she's known for years and she's known you for 5 minutes. And it's not fair or right to expect that she's gonna prioritize you after 5 minutes over these people she's known for years, at least not on an every time consistent basis. And the fact that she's not giving you that kind of level of respect and deference and bending over backwards for you after 5 minutes of knowing you does not mean that after, another half-hour phone call and getting to know you better, she might not give you a lot more respect, or that after you do get her out on a date and things go really.
This is a great point. I've noticed this, that having this rigid outlook that there's only after 3 dates, if we don't hook up, I'm done, or if she doesn't call at a certain amount of time, then I'm done. I think operating like this, you're going to eliminate some good opportunities sometimes. And a lot of it has to do with timing and circumstance, right? So being rigid going into dating is not going to help you. I see where he's going with this. This is actually pretty sound advice. And he's also not saying that, alpha male advice or strategies is bad. He's getting specific about it.
Really well, she might not treat you in a completely different way. Also understand that as men, our attraction for women is fairly binary because it's mostly based on their appearance. We see a girl and we're like, she's hot, I would have sex with her very, very quickly. For women, it can change very, very quickly. A guy who is boring to them can do something in his actions and stand out very quickly and take himself out of that zone of being boring, especially if he's only been boring for a short period of time. Maybe even faster, a guy who they like, if he does some unattractive things, they can be absolutely repulsed by him very, very quickly. So the point is that the way the girl is viewing you changes tremendously over time. And so when guys, say, okay, if the girl's not responding to your text, the girl's giving you one-word answers, write her off. Well, the fact of the matter is I've had plenty of girls who were giving me very little in text, and we just stayed in contact. I sent them a periodic message, and then months later, literally months later, we met up, had a great time together, and then started dating. Right? And so that girl fundamentally was not disrespecting me, fundamentally didn't dislike me, but just didn't know me enough to prioritize me in her life yet, right? And for girls, it's very, very situational. Some of the girls who on paper would be kind of almost the worst people that I've ever dated, when we were very close, were incredibly sweet and nice and gave me tons of respect and deference. Some of the nicest, most amazing, sweet girls I've ever dated, when, we broke up.
Here's an interesting thing. Andrew Tate messaged this, who's regarded as, red pill, this or that, but I agree with what he said. He said, if I meet a woman and she's not interested, it's like she's not open for business. Maybe you don't like that analogy, but in other words, it's not a good timing, it's not the right place, so he just lets it go. Now, if someone gives you their number and you correspond and you have some positive feedback back and forth, but you feel like, oh, they're kind of in, they're kind of out, it could just be timing. There's a lot of, but how you handle that, and you don't leave the door open like, oh, if you ever change your mind to go out with me again, Like if you ask a woman out and she's like, you know, it's right now it's not a good time this week, and you're like, just forget it, I'll never talk to her again, she's not interested. It's like, yeah, no worries, or no problem, or okay, just neutral. That's actually an opportunity to prove that you're not needy and you can handle a no. And then, like you said, 2, 3, 4 months, I've had this occur many times in my life. They hit you up because the timing's right for them, and also you were okay with them not agreeing to go out with you, or maybe being a little cold to you. That's actually an opportunity to show you that you're not needy.
Up became horrendously, let's just say, bitchy, right? They became not the nicest people to me under the circumstances of us just having broken up, even though they were nice people in the world in general. So people's behavior and women's behavior is very, very situational. And if you just assume that, you know, the girl is obligated to like you and treat you with respect when she barely knows you, and is obligated to bend over backwards and treat you as the most important person in her life on very little information, that is an unreasonable position to take, and it's going to cost you a lot of opportunities. All right, so fundamentally you need to understand that women's attraction is not this binary on and off light switch. It is a dimmer switch. It takes time, and if you just give yourself more opportunity to connect with them, more opportunity to interact with them, things can change for the better very, very quickly. Okay, fundamentally though, even if you were right, even if this assumption were right about women's behavior, which it's not, even then it would be a poor assumption to take, which is what we're gonna talk about next. Think of it this way. If you could assume that a girl likes you or assume she doesn't, you're basically always better assuming she likes you. Here's why. If you assume she likes you and she does, you're gonna act right and things will go your way. If you assume she likes you and she doesn't, well, one, you don't have much to lose because she already didn't like you. Two, because of the confidence from assuming she likes you, you might just convert it over to her liking you. On the other hand, if you assume she doesn't like you and you're right, well, great, good job being right. You didn't achieve anything by it, and it's not gonna go anywhere. And if you assume she doesn't like you and you're wrong, you're making about the biggest possible error in giving up on a good situation. So even if you were right, even if you were correct in assuming that if she doesn't like you now, she'll never like you, and also in assuming she doesn't like you, which are two big assumptions, even then you would be just as good or better off to go the other way. On top of that, and this is very important, that line of thinking is defeatist. That line of thinking is going to lead you to give up on a lot of situations. That line of thinking is going to lead you to quit, and it's going to lead you to not believe that game is fundamentally possible. And I can tell you from experience it is. As someone who went from not having any relationships with girls and not knowing how to trigger attraction in them to being a guy who can trigger attraction in most girls I talk to and can get results with a ton and very high percentage of those girls, I can tell you that believing in game, believing that it is possible to make yourself more attractive is a very useful belief, both in terms of the individual interaction and as a long-term goal, because it's gonna make you find solutions to problems. It's gonna make you figure things out, and it's gonna keep you encouraged and keep you growing and learning, which is fundamentally one of the most important things possible. All right, so for all of these different reasons, it really, really offends, upsets, and troubles me that there's so much of this sort of like alpha male, like just put the girl in her place, don't give in, hold your frame, that kind of advice. To an extent, yes, it is important to hold your frame, but you want to hold your frame softly, and you want to hold your frame from a position of control and power rather than from a reactive place. Remember that.
Be genuine. Okay, just be genuine. Be who you are. Right? I often say don't try to be a Hell's Angel in a day. Right? Be authentic. It's like the best dating advice is who are you and are you proud of who you are? If you're not proud of who you are, start working on that. If you're not remotely proud of who you are, then you got to work on that before you even start dating. But what's happening is people are adopting other people's identities, and it's coming off inauthentic. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to follow these rules from so-and-so on so-and-so's channel that has all these views and I find highly entertaining. And the thing is, those people that are doing that, it's great. I have no problem with red pill or any of these things. Whatever works for you, right? That's personal. Whatever works for your objectives. And that's what I'm going to get to right now is that if I had 10 dating commandments or 10 dating ideals that I just wrote out right now, I'd say number one would be What are you looking for relationship-wise? So before you get any relationship advice or dating advice, I think this is something I never did in my 20s. Just sit down and journal it out or write out, like, what are you looking for relationship-wise, right? For men, what are you looking for? Wife? It's like, oh, I'm not looking for a wife. All right, eliminate that. That's a different type of dating pool, right? That's a different type of criteria. Mother of your child? No, oh my God, no. Some guys are looking for that at some point in their life. That's a different type of dating criteria. Girlfriend, okay? So then define that, like, what's a good girlfriend to you? Like, what are the qualities? Casual hookups. Some people are like, oh my God, casual hookups, I never do that. It's so dangerous. That's this. Whatever. If that's your thing, you want to get quantity over quality, and that's what you do. You want a rotation. Casual hookups are actually preferred. Fine. That's going to be a different, probably, mindset in dating. It's not, I don't think it's all the same. Or some people do this, nothing in particular. Now someone's like, oh, that's about, no, just be clear. Like, I'd be open if I got my, if I got struck by love, then I'm totally fine. If I have a casual hookup, I'm totally fine. So just nothing in particular. You're open to whatever. That's fine. But narrow it down to what kind of person you're attracted to, right? But being clear on that, right? If someone's like, oh man, I can't meet anyone good. Well, what are you looking for? What do you mean, what am I looking for? Like, really, how many people ask themselves, like, what am I really looking for right now? Am I looking for the mother of my child? Am I looking for a wife? Am I looking just for a girlfriend? Am I looking for a casual hookup? Or I don't care. Get clear on that first. And then when you get clear on that, you can choose who you go to for dating advice. Because if you have someone's like, yeah, I got a rotation, I do, like, maybe they don't call it casual hookups, but you know what I mean. If that's going to be a phase, like a lot of times it's a phase. Someone didn't do well with women, or there's women out there that are like, I've only been with 2 guys. I want to get loose, literally, and I want to hang out, and I want to hook up, and I want to live that part of my life. That's up to you, right? So you're going to have a different kind of outlook on dating and go to different places to date. Okay, number 2, 10 dating commandments. These are ones I just came up. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. Don't over-text. I think over-texting for men or women, it's like a client of mine was just saying we both don't like to text. I'm like, that's a good thing. Identify it. Make times to hang out or talk on FaceTime or talk on the phone, because tone makes a difference. And I'd add, if you are going to text, don't be afraid to use the microphone on your phone to leave messages. So at least you can hear tone, right? Number 3, assess your hunting grounds. Men or women, assess your hunting grounds. Are they abundant for what you're looking for? Okay. Casual hookups, like university. Why is there more casual hookups? There's an abundant population of young people whose hormones are high, who have just gotten out of the house for the first time in their lives. And people are more attractive in their early 20s, I would say, overall. So, I mean, those are abundant hunting grounds for casual hookups, okay? People that are going to meet more wife types are probably going to go to different places. So assess where you're actually, and people don't do this. Like, where am I meeting potential candidates? And you're like, oh, I can't do it at my job. I can't do it because my friends are all married. I've heard that before. It's like, are you in any clubs or groups, or do you donate any time to charities? Like, those are options, right? Oh, I hate dating apps. All right, well, what dating apps are you using? There's probably hundreds to thousands of dating apps now, so assess the dating app that you're using and look for a new one. Number 4, this is a big question. Are you an opportunist or a strategist? Quality versus quantity. It's a choice. No judgment, right? So when you look at it like strategist, it's like, I really want a good wife. All right. So what would that look like? Strategist is going to know what they're looking for and how to go about pursuing that. An opportunist is like, whatever falls out of the sky, I'll just take my opportunity. And most men are like that, especially when you're younger. Opportunist. Oh, I just met some woman on the bus. Great opportunity. I'm not saying what's right or wrong for you, but just identify which one you're going after. I'd say if you're going for a wife, mother of your child type thing, then you're better off being a little bit more strategic. Now, notice I didn't say rigid. I think one of the worst things you can do, and I didn't even mention it on this, is to, if you do one of these dating apps or you go out on your first date with someone and you list to them all the things you don't want. This scares people away. I don't want casual hookups. You put it in your dating app. It's like, don't even write that. Don't even write that. Just write about yourself, because you're immediately putting your guard up. And identify quality versus quantity. Oh, I'm open to both. I would, you know, and then what's quality to you? Number 5, cut things off with someone that has immediate mental health issues. Now, some people are going to be like, what? That's not very supportive. I have a lot of breakups, a lot of issues. They have mental health issues, right? If you have no experience in that field, nor do you have any experience with friend, family, or colleagues, or yourself, it's going to be a brick wall you're running against. Literally. It's going to be a brick wall. So if they have immediate mental health issues that they identify with, I'm bipolar, I've had depression since I was 14. This is not me just being like a jerk or being discompassionate or making a joke. I'm saying if you are not in that arena, haven't experienced that before, they don't want to see a therapist, they don't want to work on that, it's just going to be a problem. And actually, this is going to sound, they're going to pull you in, and you're actually going to take on some of that. You're going to be more depressed. You're going to have more anxiety. You absorb the people you hang around. Someone's like, oh, like myself, I'm a leader. I hang around with certain people long enough. It's just how it is. So if you're in that, this is a big one right now. If you start dating someone, you like them, you're attracted to it, and they identify with, you know, I've battled depression for 20 years. I'm on and off again. Sometimes I don't leave the house for 2 weeks. Right now, I've been really good for the last few months. Now, someone's like, oh my God. It's like, there's real people like this. I have compassion for them, okay? There's different reasons for being depressed. But at some point, are they working on it? Now, what a lot of people do, like, I can overlook that because she's attractive or he's attractive, and they start to try to, like, look up videos and books and try to be there. If it's not your lane, it's not your lane. Cut that off immediately, because it's just going to be a problem overall. It's going to take a lot of your time, too, especially if you are an empathetic person. Number 6, stick to your own taste. Okay, this is a big one. You know what you like. You know who you're attracted to. Don't let friends, family, and colleagues. Sometimes it's people's parents. Sometimes it's their best friends. A best friend can go, really? That's like, you like her? She's a little chunky, man. Or she's kind of dumb, right? Or that's, you've been dating her? It could be looks. It could be personality. Some people really value their mom's opinion. Well, my mom said this. Stick to your own taste. You know what you like. And sometimes you're like, I don't know what it is about them, but I'm into them. Or you're really attracted to them, but popular culture wouldn't be, right? Stick to your own taste. Be true to yourself. Number 7, make sure you're filtering correctly. Filtering means that when red flags come up, things make you feel bad about the situation. You feel like this is an uncomfortable situation where you're like, this doesn't line up right. There was a client of mine before that once they got into intimacy with this, they were dating for a while, and certain acts of intimacy were really uncomfortable. It was nothing over the line or anything. It was just the things that the guy liked to do. And she was like, I just can't continue to do that, because to climax, we were doing things that I didn't find climatic, right? So filtering correctly means like coming across the things that immediately, like, you're like, this isn't right, this is going to work long term. Number 8, never over pursue. Number 9, accept. This is probably one of the biggest ones I suggest now. And this might sound counterintuitive. Accept any rejection, especially for men. And this is one of the hardest ones. It's like, you ask a woman out, you ask her for a number, she says no, or she has an excuse. Accept that with anything that's neutral response, as in okay or maybe another time. I don't even like that one. I like okay or I understand, and just move on, whether that's in text or chat. And that'll actually surprise the woman, because if she rejected you or semi-rejected you by making an excuse, it kind of leaves her hanging, because a lot of guys would keep trying or try to come up with a line. The fact that you can just walk away on one stiff arm. Hey, do you want to go to dinner tonight? No, I actually already ate. Okay. Leave the text alone. That's neutral. It leaves it alone, and then they go, well, what if they're interested, they'll carry on the conversation after that. If they're not interested, they won't carry on. Number 10, trust that and the reason why you accept rejection neutrally is you leave the door open later on, 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months, that if she wanted to come back, you're not angry at her, you're not upset, and you have a strong frame in the sense like it doesn't affect you if she's not in the mood to hang out. Number 10, trust that if you spill a drink or make a bad comment, that you'll know how to pivot out of this. Stop overthinking before the date starts. Just talked to a client about this yesterday. Give yourself some credit. If you're not there yet, then you need to work on, building up your confidence. But going into a date or in the dating world, allow yourself, like if we go out and it's awkward or it's uncomfortable or the conversation's bad, I'll be able to pivot out of this. And in the worst case scenario, it'll be a good story. Don't overthink it. Number 11, what's your objective? Like, what's your objective? Just to hang out, hook up? That's fine. Like Corey Wayne, hang out, hook up. The objective is to penetrate the woman, as Corey Wayne says. Okay. Does that line up with you? If it does, go for it. Number 12, stop complaining about bad dates and being ghosted. This is a big one. It's not personal unless it happens all the time. It's not if the same thing happens over and over again, then there's something that you're doing to trigger this, or there's some kind of typecasting of a date that you're pursuing that's giving the same result. So if you're getting the same result all the time, but if you're like, I just got ghosted by this girl, and you tell all your friends the story and you just don't get it, and that's the first time you've been ghosted in a long time, it's not personal. It's probably something with them. Their dog could have died. They could have had a bad day. They're going to move. You remind them of someone they don't like. Stop taking it personal. When people actually ghost you, they're doing you a favor, because they're saying, I'm not interested, I don't want to lead you on, and I don't want to waste your time. Like I got ghosted. It's like, who cares? Unless it's like you've been together 2, 3, 4 years and someone ghosts you, that's going to bother you. But like you're dating, right? If you're like, hey, what have you been up to? And they don't respond, that's your cue, like, hey, this isn't working. It's actually a lot of clarity in that. So stop complaining about that. Now, if you get ghosted all the time, then you need to reassess things and be like, well, what am I doing here? Am I brushing my teeth before I go out? Do I have bad breath? Am I saying some things that are, you know what I'm saying? Then you got to reassess it. But if it only happens once in a while and you're just perplexed, clients will, I don't get it. It's like, I won't, unless I talk to the other person. No, but you accepting it and moving forward, that's actually attractive. All right, so there was another video. We got 9 on deck. We got 10 on deck. Let me know out there. I did title this The Truth to Male, because this is what we reviewed originally. The problem with male strategies, or the truth of male strategies. This is kind of long-winded. Now, so what I'm saying is right now, whatever you choose in dating, right? Choose advice from someone that you respect or you have rapport with, and what their objective is. It's totally fine if someone's like, my objective is to have a rotation of women, right? So that's like Alpha Male Strategies, who I reviewed a few days ago. That's what he does. He has a big fan base. He has a lot of guys following him. So like, let's just take a look at his 10 commandments really quick. And if someone's like, oh, I can't believe that. That's what he's pursuing, right? Okay, so that's fine. Now, let's see here. Let me get it up there. One moment, folks.
So I had a subscriber that asked me to come up with my top 10 rules of dating. Well, he can't ask me to come up with my top rules of dating, and I came up with my top 10. So guys, as a man, you gotta have a code, and you gotta have a principle. like a 10 commandments almost. And you need to have some things that you don't bend on. And some things you don't give and you don't break on as a man. As you being a man, there's some things you just, this is what I do, and that's what I go by. That's a code. So what I'm finna give you now is my 10 things that I go by. That's a code for me that I never break. I don't care how bad the bitch is. I don't care how big her titties is, how big her ass is. I live by this code, period. All right? The first one is I never argue with a woman. Now, guys, as we all know, women are emotional. As a man, you're supposed to be logical and rational. You arguing with a woman, you are moving into your feminine energy. You're starting to act like a fucking bitch. Do you get that? Y'all all grasp that. You never fucking argue with a woman. It's only gonna lead to yelling and hollering. It's not like the woman gonna sit down and say, okay, dear, have anyone you guys ever argued with a woman and then she sat down and said, you know what, you're right. I want you to just think about that for a second.
I know where he's coming from on this, because women are more emotional and men are more rational. But I would honestly say I've been in relationships where there is an argument and there is a time for you to go on offense when something's not acceptable. And I would say I have had women go, yeah, you're right. I have. They're girlfriends. I have. And usually in the case, I'm like, I'm right. You did something wrong. I think there is a time to go on offense. Now, if they initiate a petty argument that's highly emotional, that's about, taking out the trash as a classic, or you got to assess, is this just a mood swing right now? Like pre-period? Is this just a moody thing? And then you don't even get involved. But if there's something like, for example, she was talking to another guy when you guys were out at a Christmas party, and she was talking to another guy. And I'm not saying to get insecure and like make a scene. No. But if you come home and you're like, hey, look, that was unacceptable. Now, if it becomes an argument, then you need to state your case. I do believe that. But if it gets too far where it gets irrational, then no. So that would be my response. Now, there is certain moments where you need to go on offense, though. Let's get back into it.
Have you ever got into a disagreement with a woman about something, and at the end of it, she said, you know what, you're right. Now that I think about it, you're right. You never argue with a woman. You always want to remain calm and steady. That don't mean you do what the fuck she say. That means that you're not finna yell and argue with her like a fucking bitch. You understand what I'm saying? You the man, you supposed to be rational and logical. Don't never argue with a woman. For one, a lot of women, they like to fucking troll you. You understand what I'm saying? So guys, let me tell you what I mean by this. Starting this YouTube shit right here, this YouTube channel, I have trolls that try to come through here and say little shit to get up under my skin. I don't know if a lot of you've seen it, and I always put thanks for watching. And a lot of times I don't never see them come in again because they did not succeed in what their fucking goal was. Their goal was to move me off my center. Their goal was to piss me the fuck off. So I guess when they said they come in, I supposed to came back with some angry message and then like, ooh, I got that nigga. I got that nigga mad. Ooh, I'm finna show enough get in his ass now. Ooh, I'm finna say all type of shit. I'm gonna troll his ass. See guys, women could be fucking trolls. A woman could be riding home in her car from work thinking like, I'm finna really fuck with him today. You understand what I'm saying? If you're a guy that's highly emotional and your woman know you're easy to move off center, it's a good chance she be in the car riding home plotting to fuck with you. You understand what I'm saying? You don't let a girl troll you. She get her rocks off knowing she done piss you off. So I done had a rough day, so now I'm finna go home and fuck with him, and now he gonna have a bad night. So you understand what I'm saying? So if you don't feed into that, it stops. It goes away. If you feed into it, it keeps going. If she knows that this is how I can get under his skin, it keeps going. So you don't want to feed her into that bullshit. If you stay calm and logical, she'll stop it because she'll see it ain't accomplishing her goal, which is to piss you off. Some women get off pissing their man off. All right? So don't let a woman troll you. All right? That's the first one. Now, this is another one, but it's very important. Guys, you never want to respond immediately to a text or call when your girl is calling her. Guys, that is an interest indicator. Do you understand that? When you do shit like that, what you signaling to your woman, it's like it's almost a little slight validation a little bit. It's like you're saying, you're so important to me, I'm just gonna drop what I'm doing to respond to your call or text. You understand? That's an interest indicator. Guys, I'm sitting here to let you know now, the more interest you indicate to a woman you have, the more her interest drops. You understand what I'm saying? Women are fucking backwards as hell. They only remain interested in you if they think that you're not that interested in them. They start pulling the other way. So if your interest comes here, hers starts coming here. They interest decrease as your interest increase. So when you start responding right back to a call, that's an interest indicator. You want to let her, make her feel like she's never that important, that I'm never going to stop doing what I'm doing.
Now there might be a lot of women that are going like, that's not true. What do you guys think if there's some women on this live stream right now that's an interest indicator? I will tell you this, there's a lot of fucking truth to that. That a man less interested, less invested, less apt to be on point every time you text him, that the woman loses interest. I know a few examples of this, and I'm not saying it's absolutely true, okay? Because there are couples I've been around, and you're like, oh my God, this is like watching a TV romantic comedy. They're so into each other. They're both needy. They're both, they're feeding each other spaghetti and stuff like that. There's couples like that exist, right? And the hard thing is when those couples go wrong, they go really bad. But I remember a good friend of mine, him and his girlfriend were together for, and this the reason that I'm mentioning this because it just came to mind when he said that. They were together for like 5-6 years, high school sweethearts, and they had drama. They would fight a lot, but they were in love, right? They had some drama, like they would fight over things, like be jealous with each other, young lover kind of things, 19 to 23, 24. They had a kid. So he gets a good job and everything like that. And like 5 years in, he goes all in, bended knee to marry her. Right? I'll never forget this. I was like, wow. He's like, yeah, I asked her to marry me on New Year's, this and that. He's like, I cried about it. And he wasn't like that. This is like high school linebacker, tough dude. And she was always kind of chasing him. Even they were together, but he was kind of leading the relationship. Within 2 months, they broke up. It was like it took all the wind out of the relationship. I remember him telling me like it just changed. She started going out with friends. Like it was a guarantee that like turned her off. Now, are all women like that? No. It's timing. It's situational. So this goes back to like, would you make this your golden rule of all dating? No, but there is some truth to that. That it does kill the relationship sometimes. All right, anything in the comments, throw it in, and I'll get to it eventually. Let's get back. Let's just take a switch out of this, and I want to show you a video by Alex Cormet, the French relationship expert that actually gives advice for women. We'll come back to AMS, but just look at perspectives. That's all I'm asking, right? And how much there's so many different kind of perspectives that spin men, right? So let's just look at this for a minute, or let's continue alpha male strategies. Hold on.
To return your call, you're not that important. I know it's sick, but it's a shame that you have to act like this with women. It's a shame that you can't act like you care about them or they fucking lose interest. But hey, like I told you guys before, I didn't fucking make women. If you don't like it, talk to the big man upstairs. It is what it is. All right, the third one. Guys, always check your motherfucking woman. Now, this is a funny one here because women do shit and they want you to check them. And if you don't check them, that's an interest indicator too. You understand what I'm saying? That shows that I'm so fucking interested in you that I don't want to piss you off right now and get you mad. God, that don't then drive a woman pussy up more than a guy that's afraid to fucking lose her. Do you understand me? See, if you don't check your woman, essentially what you're saying is I don't want to do nothing to piss you off because I don't want you to lose me. That's weakness. That's a turnoff to a woman. You want to get her pussy wet? Stop checking her. In other words, if y'all out on a date and she doodling on her phone, texting on her phone, tell her in a nice, manly way. You don't got to be a fucking asshole. Relate to your woman in a nice, respectful way that, hey, I want your undivided attention. We don't get to spend too much time together. I want all your attention on me. So you can put your phone up and text your friends later. It don't matter who she texts. She could be texting another guy she dating, don't give a fuck. She be texting her mama. And when women love to try to use their phone for their kids, well, I'm just checking on my kids. I got to check to make sure the kids okay. One time. She check one time. She not gonna be checking on her fucking kids every fucking 5 or 10 minutes on her fucking phone while y'all on a fucking date. You understand? And we ain't going for that shit. So you always want to check your woman. If she late, y'all got an outing, and she fucking late, you gonna say something. You ain't gonna be a fucking bitch. You gonna fucking say something. She wants you to say something. If you don't say nothing, that's indicating to her that you're starting to get weak for her. They're letting her know that you're starting to fall heads over heels in love with her. Understand this, guys. A woman wants you to care about her, but she don't want you to get so fucking booty whipped that you can't even fucking stand up to her no more. That's gonna turn her pussy dry than a motherfucker. You understand? Women want to be fucking tamed. Well, the feminine women, not the masculine motherfucker, not these feminists, but the feminine women want a man that's keep them motherfucking in check. You understand what I'm saying? All right. The fourth one, no fucking validation, guys. No fucking compliments. You don't fucking compliment women. Maybe if you got a wife, maybe every now and then, but you don't compliment fucking women. It shows fucking weakness. It's almost like you're saying, let me say this because I think if I say this, that's gonna make you care about me more. You understand what I'm saying? It's very weak. You don't fucking compliment women. Even if it's a girl you dating, you don't never compliment women. You never validate them. You want her chasing your fucking validation. Chasing it. So this is the thing, guys. As soon as a woman gets your validation, she's on to try to chase the next guy validation. Because women are fucking sick creatures. They want every fucking man in the world fucking vying for their attention. They need every man to have all their eyes on them. That's how they are. They are narcissistic as fuck. And they want every man to want them sexually. So the second you get her validation, your validation, it's like, okay, another one down. All right, now I want this guy over here to like me too. I want his validation too. They're like little kids seeking validation. You understand? You never give her your validation. You keep her wondering if you even fucking like her. It's much better that way. No fucking compliments. No fucking returning her fucking text messages in 5 or 10 fucking minutes. That's validation. None of that shit. You're validating her. You're letting her know that you like her a lot. Now, this is a big one. And this is where they're going to keep a lot of you guys from getting jerked around. No dates after the second date if she ain't fucked. Did you get that? No dates after the second date. If you ain't fucked by the second date, the third date, you invite her over to your house. We ain't going out tonight. You gonna come over and we gonna cook and we gonna talk on the couch and watch a movie, and that way you can make your move. And I'm gonna tell you.
So the interesting thing about this, I haven't watched this fully yet. I just pulled this up before the live stream. But it's kind of funny because this is a big one to me, is that when young guys start following this, and they go, all right, if she doesn't hook up after the second or third date, I'm like, you're limiting yourself so much. Like, what are you looking for, right? I mean, that's a pretty big limit. Second date. Now, keep in mind, this works for him. This works, and whenever you watch these kind of videos, this guy AMS is highly popular. He's to the point, right? Eloquent speaker. So, but no one gets to see the women he's actually dating. And I'm not saying, I have no clue. And this is what's interesting about any of these relationship channels. It's like, it would be really interesting. That would be really interesting, right? To see Fresh and Fit. Who else is out there? Some of these other guys, like, who are you dating? Right? Because it's so judgmental. Some of the women, it would just be a curious thing, right? It would be a curious thing to see the results from this and actually talk to some of these women. All right, let me switch tides here for a moment here, and we're gonna go to a completely different. And the whole point of this is to give you some different. The thing about dating advice now with YouTube, perspective, right? Sloan Magnum says he's popular because he's telling these beta simps what they want to hear and not actual reality for all women. I mean, here's the thing. I talk about this concept a lot. I haven't heard someone coin it this way, but this is how overcompensation, right? So someone goes, I want to get tougher. I want to get better with women. So they go all in. It's like, you know, if you took some guy hunting for the first time that's a computer nerd and he's like, I really want to become a hunter. And he shows up with like extra camo, a fucking Rambo, ammunition belt on, a machine gun. You're like, whoa, dude, who told you that this was what hunting was? It's like you're overcompensating, right? You're trying to make up for lost time. It's just like when you see a guy that's, 5'3" and he's got a giant motorcycle, he can barely touch the feet on the ground. So Alpha Male Strategies lives this. This is his code of conduct. This is how he operates. But some of the guys picking it up are like, yeah, this is what I got to put into play. And I'm not sure it works for everyone. Now, let me get to, like I said, this is just perspective. And what people are doing is they're going, hey, here's how I roll. This is my opinion on things. None of this stuff's absolute for anyone. That's not to say it doesn't work well for him. Right. So let's get into another, you'll like this one. This is really contrasting here. Hold on a sec. And I haven't watched the whole one of this, but so this has 700,000 views. This is the French relationship excerpt. Alex Cormet. Rob actually brought him to my attention. Take a look at this. The advice he's giving to these women. Let's get into it. So an opposite here.
Make a man miss you. Hello ladies and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Alex Cormet, your French relationship expert. I'm also the author of the bestseller, The Truth About Love. And you can download this bestseller for free in the description box right below. So let me tell you, this video is brand new. I want to talk to you about how to make a man miss you. I know it's something really important because when you are in a relationship, you want the man to be in love. You want the man to be involved also, to make sure that he will do actions, he will think about you, and he will commit to the relationship. So basically, if you want a man to miss you, we need to make sure that you will understand the male psychology. Let me explain to you. As human, and more specifically men, we value what we don't have. So we love to put you on a pedestal. This is something really important. Tips number 1. If you want to make sure a man will miss you, you need to be distant. What do I mean by distant? It's not that you have to argue with him or you should not respect him. Not at all. What I want for you is to make sure that you will be a little bit distant. You will focus on your personal life. You will make sure that he has to text first, that he has to do some actions. Basically, he has to show up. So if you can do it, of course, this man will miss you because he will think about you. Imagine you're in a relationship and the man is always texting you. Will you miss him? I'm not sure. I'm not sure you will miss him. I think that you will take him for granted. It's basically what happened a lot. If you text him, if you call him, if you ask him to go out, he doesn't have the time to miss you. So tip number 1, the distance. Tips number 2, when it comes to relationship, the tips number 2 is really important. Specifically, when you want to make sure that a man will miss you. But before to tell you exactly what is this tip number 2, I want you to smash that like button and to subscribe to this YouTube channel because we are building this amazing community of women that wants to be happy in love. Tips number 2, if you want a man to miss you, it's all about excitement. And this is why that I want you to make sure that you will create some specific moment, unique moment. If you can create something different, if you can share some good moments, the man will miss you. When we live something that we enjoy, we want to do it again. And if we have the distance after it, what will happen? A man will miss you. And the more he will miss you, the more he will commit to the relationship. So I know it's something that it's difficult for you to understand. Ladies, it's simple. Just take a paper, a pen, and ask yourself, what do I really want to do with this man? Because basically what you will offer will be brand new. And then he has to do so. He will have to do some new activities with you. And this is where we build something stronger, where a man can miss you. Tips number 3, don't have sex all the time. I have coach Samantha. She's living in Iowa. And she told me, Alex, I met this guy during 4 weeks. We were all the time together, texting, calling, seeing each other. The first question I told her, because basically what happened after the 4 weeks, he started to pull back. And she said, Alex, I want him to miss me because I feel that he's taking me for granted. And I asked her, okay, how many times did you see each other without having sex? She said, no one. That's why it's crazy because all the time.
So as you can see, there's a lot of advice out here, right? I mean, he's giving advice to women that's completely counter to the advice that men are giving to men. And my question would be, if I was dealing with his client and she was like, how do I make him, why do you want him to make him miss you? If you're having great intimacy, you're into each other, why are you trying to create a situation where he misses you? What's the intention in that? Oh, just stop having sex with him. And then create this good, exciting moment a man wants to do again. What's that moment? Intimacy? I mean, if you asked me the simplest question, like how a woman will really get a guy to think about her a lot, I think if intimacy is incredibly good, that would be the number one starter. So get good at that. And you don't necessarily need to get good at that because that's sometimes a chemistry thing. But, I mean, this guy's also on Love Advice TV. I don't know if people knew that. So he's part of that network. I think that's kind of underrated. I mean, call it shallow. SEX isn't everything, but I mean, when he's like, good, exciting moment a man wants to do again, consider what trumps intimacy for a guy. I don't know, but it's just the drama behind this. He's giving advice to women, and then it's so interesting when you go to YouTube, you can counter it with like alpha male strategies, which is a totally different viewpoint. I mean, it's just drama filled. Let's just finish.
We have this chemistry, this good intimacy. I was feeling happy. And I told her, yeah. And he took you for granted because you were always having sex. I am not against having sex. I'm just saying that if you want a man to miss you, don't give him what he wants. Crazy, right? It's crazy when I say that, but it's the truth. Imagine if you...
What if the guy has other options? What if the guy is, high value? Is he going to stick around then if you're playing this game? Good question. If you're going to have him hold out, do you think this is good advice? It's crazy, says Sloan. I mean, it's interesting because it's countering. Here's the thing. His advice will work with certain men. There's certain guys out there that this would be perfect for. Holding out on them, creating these games. If some woman tried this game with AMS, Alpha Male Strategies, he'd be done. So Alpha Male Strategies is countering this. right? My point is, no one's wrong or right, because it could work. This advice could work, right? It wouldn't work on me necessarily. I wouldn't be like, oh, you're trying to create this game to try to make me miss you. It seems like you're not interested, right? My point is, we're going to watch another video that's totally different advice from Marnie, Wing Girl, a female, giving advice to men. No one's right, no one's wrong. Pick the advice that resonates with you is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that anything's like above anything else. You go, oh yeah, that's true. But keep in mind what I said earlier when I talked about dating. Number one, what are you looking for? Wife, mother of your children, girlfriend, for the women on the panel day, husband, casual hookup, just nothing in particular, right? Then where are you going to meet these people? But like when you watch these videos first and you just take some of this advice into action without, this is for a certain type of guy. There's a certain type of guy that would respond to this. AMS, I can tell you right now, would just be out. Like you would lose him as a guy if that was your goal. But let's carry on.
You are starving, you want to eat, and I give you food. What will happen? You will feel good, but you will not need food anymore, right? It's the same in love. If a man wants some sex and you give him sex, attention, love, what will happen? He will not need you anymore. So basically, he will never miss you. I know it's crazy. I know it's not something that you have learned from Hollywood, from Walt Disney, from the society, but I'm here today as a relationship expert on the field after coaching more than 30,000 women on the phone, in person. I'm not talking about my speeches, right? Because
Coach 30,000 women by the phone. Okay. Credibility check here. I mean, is that documented? And all 30,000, you're telling women to hold out to get a guy's attention. Is this situational or is this just you're going to lose some guys that way. I'll tell you that right now. And if you're enjoying the intimacy, if you're, Ryan Flint says, right? What if you're with, this to me, honestly, this is fucking horrible advice. I'll just be honest. But if you're looking for a pushover or a doormat type guy, excellent advice. And there's some women that like that. We've all known. I mean, if you've been around long enough, you've been to dinner parties or you had friend, family, or colleagues, Christmas parties, whatever, and you're like, oh my God, so-and-so and so-and-so. She could bat him over the head and he goes, sorry. This is what he's trying to incorporate here. Right? Like, hey, if you really want to work a guy over and manipulate him, it's one side. I just showed you one extreme to the other extreme. So there's content on both ends of the spectrum here, right? Unbelievable. I've talked to 30,000 women by phone, not including the speeches I've made. People believe what they want to believe. Like if you're in a good relationship, Rye Flint, Roller Girl, and you're having good intimacy and you're like, oh, how do I make him miss you? And you cut off the spigot on that, the guy's going to be like, what's going on here? Like, and you go, I've talked to Alex Cormier, who's got 30,000, and he's told me this. If you have a good relationship going, keep it going. If you're having great intimacy, keep it going. If someone's asking for a way to make a guy miss you in the middle of having a good relationship, there's something twisted to that, right?
Then I've touched more than 1 million of person. But I'm talking about coaching. And basically I can tell you, if you want a man to miss you, don't give him what he wants. Always be yourself, right? I told you, this will make him crazy about you. And ladies, you can do it. I trust you. But before to just try to do it, make sure that you will click on the link in the description because I will send you to my package. It's a pack of trainings. You can find everything to make sure you will attract the man you want. You will make him commit to your relationship. And for sure, you will be happy in love. This training course online is amazing and it's for you. So click on the link below if you want to go further. You can also come on my website, FrenchRelationshipExpert.com. You have tons of articles. You can book a private coaching session with me or
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, it's a needy pitch too, right? He's good. This guy's got over 200,000 subscribers. He's on Love Advice TV, which the people on Love Advice TV have got an opinion about a few of them, but everyone's got an opinion. I'm sure some people have an opinion about me. So, but like 30,000 people on the phone. How are you even available? But people buy this stuff, right? It's like someone's looking. Here's the thing. If you really want to believe something that seems far-fetched, check yourself at the door. But try, women out there, try this stuff for yourself. You know, it'd be really interesting when he says, I have these seminars. I would love to see the demographic at the seminar. And then ask him, what's your results like using Alex's techniques of not giving men what they want? Unbelievable. Well, let's take a look at Marnie, who's totally different here. Right? And this is just giving you a perspective. We've had multiple dating advice here, different things. Just to put it in perspective for me, my whole thing is I'm going to talk to you as an individual and ask you some of those questions I just asked. What's your objective? What are you looking for? What do you like? Do you like, if you're a woman and you're like, I like a guy that takes my shit. I like a guy that lets me rule the roost. I like to lead the relationship. And someone's like, oh my God, patriarchy, this isn't work. There's guys out there that like that. Not me, but it's okay. Go ahead and look for it. Take Alex Cormier's advice and maybe you'll snag one. They're out there. There's plenty of them. I'm all about intimacy. He means don't be available all the time in his face. Have things to go on in your own life. I believe you both need to make each other happy, but have your own life. Absolutely need to have your own life. Absolutely. All right, let's go to, hold on.
And all this stuff. People often complain about like the rhetoric that comes out of like the manosphere or whatever. And I understand some of those because I disagree with a lot of the sentiments that they share. I've been called a blue pill and purple pill and whatever the term that they have. Honestly, I find the whole Matrix reference is super cringy. But it's 100% necessary. And I think one thing that people don't understand is that there's a lot of expectations placed on men in regards to the roles that they have to play in society, in regards to the roles that they have to play within the dating sphere. The idea that we have to approach, the idea that we have to be the one putting the foot forward and doing all this stuff. I'm not saying that women don't have the responsibilities. I'm just saying there's a lot placed on us, right? The big problem is that we have zero resources in the mainstream to know how to do these things. We don't learn it from our parents because our parents oftentimes don't know what the they're doing. We don't learn at school, and our friends are just as clueless as we are. So what ends up happening is that we look towards media. But the thing is, men don't have shows like The View. Men don't have shows like women do where they get to learn all the next beauty tips and have all their problems constantly talked about other than sports shows. And so what ends up happening is that men turn towards alternative media. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is a perfect example of that. He blew up. But when he was just back in it was just a bunch of guys watching him all the time because it's like the first time that they watched someone speak in long form about that they were going through. I'm talking back in 2013 when his podcast was like, setup. Right? I used to watch it back then. I was like, oh, okay, cool. One thing I've learned, like, just come to realize with myself is like, I remember when we first started doing videos, I used to be like way more angry about a lot of stuff, right? And looking back now, I used to ask myself why I was so angry covering some of these topics. Wow. And it dawned on me that for so long, I've been having lived experiences with women that were either negative or super toxic. And when I would bring this up to people around me, they would gaslight me, or they'd be like, well, as a man, that's not a real thing. So, right, whether it be being hit, whether it be like women doing weird stuff, saying terrible things. And I'm like, just the lack of accountability that society seems to place on women in those kind of scenarios threw me for a loop. I couldn't believe it. And so I used to build up a certain level of resentment to the idea like they can just get away with this. And that we just constantly reinforce these ideas, right? And I would look towards media and I would watch, shows like, I'm pretty sure it's The View. I can't remember what it was, but a girl just talking about like cutting off a dude's penile and throwing it in garbage dispenser. And everyone laughs and claps.
I don't know the circumstances. I don't know why he filed for divorce. I don't know what was going on between them. However, I do think it's quite fabulous. I mean, can you just imagine that thing whizzing around the disposal? It's like hysterical. But however, I think I would have just, depending on why she cut it off.
God, this is a great point, actually. I didn't watch Abba and Preach that video. I just kind of pulled it up and thought I'd throw it on fresh. Great point. I never thought of it that way, that, these women shows that have been on for years where they, get to have these little woman parties and talk about women topics. It's kind of like what's happening now is the Red Pill and some of these other shows are like guys taking over and go like, these are our gripes. Great point, Abba and Preach. He nailed it. It's just like the women shows. I don't agree with all those women, but he's making a good point that there's a place for it. That and it's kind of funny because like Fresh and Fit right now reminds me a lot of like a Jerry Springer, where it's just such sensationalism, but you have to watch it. Where when you just said that, it's kind of like if you got Rich Cooper and Rollo Tomasi and some of these other godfathers of the Red Pill around in a table like that, it would be kind of funny to set up a background, kind of like this show, The View, or one of these other shows, and mock it a little bit. But that's an interesting term. That's an interesting way to look at it, isn't it? All right, I pulled out the Marnie thing, so we'll just close out with that, because what I'm saying is there's so many different perspectives out there, and people, a lot of times they don't choose one path. They watch all the different ones. Like we just watched a couple different ones. Then they become confused, or they pick someone that's an overcompensation that they really want to be like or ride with because it's cool, but they're really not there character-wise. So let's just end with this one. There we go. Marnie's a classic wing girl. The secret to changing her mind about you works on all women. So this is really interesting. Anytime you get anyone that's a coach or breakup or I think anything on YouTube, I'm a little suspicious when it's like taglines like it works on anyone. Do this. Hey, go to my website and buy my package and all this stuff. I've had people like, why don't you have a package yet? I'm like, because a lot of the stuff out there is crap, right? It's like I can give the information. The best thing you can do is get a coaching session with myself for whatever problem you have. We'll unpack. That's why I offer a money back guarantee. And the guarantee isn't that I'll fix everything in your life. It's that it's going to be useful and helpful to you. People that come out with some of this stuff that they're offering, it's like, oh, it's like, it's snake oil, man. There's my plug. Send your story to Right Mac. All right, let's do this last one here. If you got any donations, throw them in the chat. If not, that's just fine. All right. This is a good one. This Marnie, she's a classic. So that to me, if you look at these today, I'm not telling you who's good, who's not. I'm not the moral police or anything like that. We've gone over a few. Not everyone's been in the live stream the whole day today, but you just see these they're different characters. And it comes back to like, what are you looking for? Like Marnie's actually pushing advice here to I believe like if a girl has a boyfriend, say this to her. Okay? Let's take a look at it.
Ask a woman out and she says, sorry, I have a boyfriend. Or sorry, I just don't see you that way. Or basically gives you some sort of negative response, something else. How would you respond back to that? You see, most men that I talk to are crippled by the fear of rejection and have no clue how to deal with it. That's why in this video, I want to show you exactly what to say in a case where a woman turns you down, rejects you. When you're armed with this perfect response, you'll feel your fear of rejection just fade away and a new sense of confidence will emerge. You will be more open to approaching women you like and conveying your interest. In fact, you'll be more comfortable talking to beautiful women because you'll know that if it doesn't work out, then you know exactly how to deal with it. So put aside any distractions and watch this video till the very end. It may easily be the most important video you see today, so keep watching. Hi, I am Marnie, and from here on out, I am going to be your very personal wing girl. And every week, I'm going to give you the no BS insider information about what women really want versus what they say they want, plus instantly effective methods to win over any girl you like. So hit that subscribe button now so you never miss a video. Okay, before I dive in, I want to tell you a surefire way to avoid getting rejected: having good skin, which is why I'm happy to tell you about today's video sponsor, TODD Hanley. I said it right this time. TODD Hanley helps men start and maintain a skincare routine by making the entire process unwritten to amazing skin. So just click the first link in the description. Rejects you, I need to tell you the 3 important truths about rejection that you should always remember. 99% of men don't know this, and it keeps them from getting the women they want, from experiencing the dating life they truly deserve. And I do not want you to be one of them. So listen to these 3 things carefully, note them down if you need to, and never forget it. Truth number 1, there's no reason to be embarrassed by a rejection. Most guys take rejection way too personally and feel embarrassed by it. I get it. I used to be like that. They feel that if a woman rejects them, they are not good enough for anybody else. They question their own self-worth and feel ashamed of themselves. But there's nothing to be ashamed of or embarrassed about. Look what you did. You saw a woman that you liked. You went up to her and put yourself on the line. That is ballsy. I can't even do that. That shows courage. How many guys can do that? Women don't have to do that. Okay? I bet you that 99 out of 100 guys you see walking around you are terrified of asking a woman out. And if you're that 1 in 100 who did it, you should be proud. You should feel awesome. You should feel special. And listen, I'm not just saying that to pump your ego. That is a fact. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself on the line like that. Something most guys, most people never do. That's the objective reality, whether you choose it or not. That's just what it is. All right? Next, truth number 2. The men who have the most success with women also face the most rejections. It's true. This is something most men find really hard to accept. It's easy to look at a guy who has a lot of success with women and think, oh, wow, he must get girls all the time.
I didn't watch this video prior to, but that's true. Okay, so the no rejection is personal. I kind of mentioned this earlier. I think that's absolutely true. Don't take it personal. And the way you respond to a rejection with an okay or neutral response is actually attractive. Friends of mine that have had more women, had more success with women, truly do approach more. I think that's changed a little bit because the cold approach is less of a thing. I would say this, though. I wouldn't measure, at this point in my life, and this is just my personal opinion, I wouldn't measure a guy's success solely on how many women he gets, because I've had friends that get a lot of women, but a lot of women they get or get with or have on the rotation are not very attractive to me. Character, looks-wise, and it's more of, and those guys tend to be doing it for sport and ego. Saying that, I'm going to say this honestly, no problem, no judgment. Like someone's like, oh yeah, that's just, this isn't bashing those guys. It's just seeing for what it is. Okay. And I've been in that place in my life before where I was single and I've done those things ego wise. And it's a stage sometimes to go through and kind of sow your oats and all those kinds of things. What I'm saying though is someone might go, oh, that guy's really good with women, but really his lineup of 6, 7 girls, that's why it would be really interesting for some of these guys that I would like to see I'd like to see who they date. Because I've known guys that quote unquote do really well or date a lot of women, and like half of them are like, ugh, or you know what I mean? They're dealing with not great catches. Where there's some guys where I'm like, got like a really good girlfriend. I mean, like where I'm like, damn, like she's beautiful, great personality, great sense of humor, hangs out with friends well, right? Like to me, like at this point in my life, I would measure that as like, damn, quality over quantity. Because it is true what you said, getting rejected by more guys, or I mean by more women, is going to put you in a place where you have more options. Absolutely true. But I wouldn't judge a man's success by the quantity of his rejections, because I'd say if some guy gets with a really quality woman, that's pretty impressive, right? Where I'm like, damn, where'd you meet her, right? Over, oh, you're hooking up with 8 chicks? You're on your phone all the time? I don't know if that lines up with, it's kind of like if you went fishing and you caught a bunch of different fish and you caught a bunch of small ones or ones that aren't good eating, and you caught one beautiful halibut or salmon that's great eating that you're going to keep. The other ones you'd probably just throw back or give away.
Lucky bastard. But the truth is that top 1% of men who date and sleep with amazing, beautiful women, they also get rejected a lot. In fact, they get rejected way more than the average guy, and that's because they put themselves out there more often. They're not guarding themselves. They talk to more women, they flirt with more women, they truly explore their options, which means they also get turned down by more women, which is perfectly natural. No matter how good your game is or how attractive you are, you're going to be turned down by women for their own reasons you just cannot control. But the great thing is, when you're putting yourself out there and talking to more women, you're increasing your chances of success. You're increasing your chances of finding and attracting some amazing, gorgeous woman. In my career as a dating expert, I've known many naturals from across the world, guys who are seemingly flawless with women, guys who date the type of girls most men can only dream about. And I can tell you that none of them get every woman they interact with.
God, just building it up, huh? Groundbreaking advice here, dating expert. Like, you hear it and you're like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's okay. I can tell you right now, the guys that get the most women, the most beautiful, the most gorgeous, the most this. Like, again, it would be really nice to see some pictures or meet some of these women that you're describing, just so I know what your rating scale is. Because I've met women like, oh, especially women. To me, anytime I've been dating a woman or a girlfriend and we go to dinner and there's like a mixed bag of people and they're like, oh, you know, Shauna, yeah, she was beautiful. And I'm like, I didn't think so. I didn't think she was beautiful at all. Oh, come on. She's beautiful. Not really. Why? Because she had a friendly conversation. And then there could be a girl, you know, maybe the next time we go to a get together where I'm like, damn, I wouldn't tell my girlfriend, damn, she was hot or sexy. Sexy and hot are two different things, right? But I wouldn't say it, right? I wouldn't say it or make a big deal out of it, but in my head, because everyone checks the menu, right? You don't order the food all the time, but you check the menu and you look and you're human, right? Don't do anything about it, but I don't go back and go, yeah, she was hot. But that's the girl that my girlfriend or the girl I'm dating will be like, yeah, she was a bitch. She kind of had an attitude. It's like, she's the one that's actually, you know, a little bit more attractive. Wouldn't say that, wouldn't get into it. That's a booby trap. But usually the women that other women think are really beautiful aren't the ones that guys think the same about. Just my take.
And I can tell you, all of them get nervous still. In fact, they actually get turned down more often than you'd imagine. It's like basketball legend Michael Jordan once said, This is a great quote. I failed over and over again, and that's why I succeeded. So that sums up the story of every natural that I've ever met. The trick is not to take it personally and move on without much thought. I know that's hard, but that's what you got to do. The more time you spend thinking about the rejection, the more time you waste. Top guys, take it on the chin and move on to the next girl. That's how they get so many girls so fast. It's just what they do. All right, moving on to the truth. Number 3, rejection is literally just 5 seconds of discomfort. If you really think about it, rejection is just 5 seconds of discomfort. You ask her out, she tells you no, and gives you some explanation for it, like I have a boyfriend, or I don't see you that way, or I'm not looking to date right now, or like something like that, right? But it's hardly even 5 seconds. 5 seconds that you'll feel awkward or uncomfortable, and then it's over after that. You're free to move on to a different woman, or if it doesn't turn in that direction, you're with her. Are these 5 seconds really worth being worried about? I bet you are strong enough to handle that discomfort. Every guy is. It's just that in your own head, you make a bigger deal out of it. And I get it. I totally get it. You exaggerate what will happen when a woman rejects you, and it manifests into something so big and you think it's the end of the world. But in reality, if you just look at it, it's just a ridiculously short event. That is 5 seconds max. Which brings me to the main point of this video, and it is how to respond after a woman rejects you. And it's so easy, and I'll tell you in 1 second. But first, I have a quick request. If you're enjoying this video so far, please drop a like, subscribe, let me know. It makes me feel good. Okay, when a woman rejects you, here's what you do. You need to show her that you're not fazed by it. Shake it off, right? You need to show her that it doesn't bother you. So for example, let's say you meet a woman at some social gathering and you ask her out and she says, no. What do you say now? Well, one option would be to say something very simple like, all right, no worries. It was fun chatting with you. Have a good day, right? Just plain and simple. Or you could also say something playful like, oh, that's a bummer. I bet we could have been Time Magazine's couple of the year, but no worries, with a smile. See how carefree these responses are? And again, do it in your own style, but it demonstrates that you're completely unfazed by her rejection. And you can prepare these before you even go out. You can write down 4, oh, there's a squirrel attacking me. There are 4 different versions that you can write down and you can try out, but you also get to rehearse them at home and make sure that you're comfortable with them.
Okay. I like that one. I like that one. Because a lot of times these days, a lot of times asking a woman out is through text, whether that's a dating app or you get the number later on or something like that. And so, okay. But like, we could be Time Magazine's biggest couple. It's like, that example just says something about Marnie's corniness, right? I think it's so interesting because she does a really good job with thumbnails and titles. The secret to changing her mind about you works on all women. It's like, all right, that gets a lot of views. Some groundbreaking stuff here.
Do it in front of the mirror, do it in a voice recording to make sure that you sound good and confident, but just so that you're armed and ready if this happens to you. I will give you another example. Okay, this one's from one of my email subscribers that I love, who's named Jeffrey. He has been going to physical therapy for a while now, and he's had his eye on this gorgeous woman who worked there as a receptionist. She's beautiful, is how he describes her. Very feminine, well-dressed, perfect makeup, rockin' body. And Jeffrey had been working up his courage to ask her out for a while now, until finally one day he did, with my encouragement. He asked her out for a coffee, to which she replied, well, I'm actually married. Without thinking twice, Jeffrey responded with, oh, okay, I guess he can come too, but I think that he might get jealous. Amazing, right? This cracked her up immediately, and she started laughing. Even the other girls who worked at that place, which is good that other girls are watching, who overheard the conversation, they burst out laughing, and the girl took his approach and asking out as a compliment and said thank you. Jeffrey said, no worries, it's all good. Have a nice day, or I'll see you next time. Before exiting the place, with his head held up high, which I loved, and see how amazing that interaction was, Jeffrey perfectly communicated to that girl that her rejection didn't bother him one bit, and he did it in front of other women. So those women have their brains going. When you show the girl who rejects you, I don't even want to say rejects, who turns you down, but you're not fazed by it, you prove to her that you are emotionally strong and have high self-confidence. You also subconsciously signal that you must be a man with many options.
I believe her advice is true. Its packaging and delivery here is a little cheesy, but at the same time, it is true and spot on. It's her style. Let's see where it goes a little further. The point is just seeing the contrast in advice that's out there right now. It's amazing.
In his dating life that there are other women waiting to hang out with you. All of this positions you as a highly attractive and respectable man in the eyes of a woman. Even if she rejects you, she will see that you are high quality, which is great. In fact, at times, it can even spark so much attraction that the woman, if she's available, will actually come back and try to chase after you. And moreover, when you show a woman that you're not affected by rejection, you also prove to your own mind that you can handle rejection easily. It subconsciously feeds your self-confidence, which spurs you on and makes you more comfortable with women. This is the secret of the naturals. And as I said before, the top guys get rejected a lot, but each one builds their confidence because of the way that they handle it. It becomes easier and easier to approach women. And before you know it, I'll show you exactly what to say.
I think that's enough for today, folks. But you got a good grasp there. Who was your favorite here, Rob IS? We had Alpha Male Strategies. We had TODD V. We had the Frenchman, Mr. Alex Cormier, Marnie. So it's just this wide range of advice. And to me, the most authentic of who they are, the one taking the biggest chances and just being authentically themselves is probably AMS, because he's like, I know some people aren't going to agree with this, but this is how I feel. There's less sales packaging. That being said, any advice you get, take what you want from it. Pick someone that you have some kind of respect for. Some of this stuff's just entertaining, but on the flip side, I'd say TODD V Dating Channel is a really good one. That he gets to the point. So I'm going to touch on the chat. If you guys have any quick questions, I'll get to that in a moment. So Roller Girl, if you do have a breakup, send in your story anonymously and maybe I'll shake it down for you. If you want to book a session, let's get into it. He used to be an escort. I didn't know about it back then. I forgave him. I never thought he would go back. That's one of those ones that would be pretty tough to get over, because trust is the hardest thing to rebuild post-breakup. And if that's the reason for breaking up, and you knew that was part of his past and he got back into it, it would be really hard to repair that. That being said, this is a good time to talk to someone about it, for sure, especially if you've been together a long time. I could send in my story. I wish I could afford to work with you, Mac. Well, you can just send in your story through contacts and send it in anonymously. I won't say, oh, this is Roller Girl's story. And I'll just go through it and give you my advice that way. Be happy to do that. It's one of those things. He's completely seductive and it's so easy for him. Right now, my baseline advice would be take some time away from it, journal out some things. Ask yourself what you really want moving forward, and if the problem can be fixed. If the problem can't be fixed, then you should be pretty much in no contact, taking it day by day. Thanks, Petty Betty. You're awesome too. I appreciate you. All right, folks, it's been a good one. Riflin, I appreciate you. Petty Betty, I do too. This was fun today. Let me know if you guys have some other topics you want to get into. Rob IS, thanks for being a guardian at the gate. Sloan Magnum, they're either not attractive or those same women have a high body count and they're just playing the field the same as those men. I mean, isn't it amazing when you see the contrast of advice? And I can see how someone would pick one spectrum or the other, but like Alex Corman's telling Cormier's telling these women to play games and hold out. And then someone else is saying, well, if she doesn't have sex in 2 dates, then just get rid of her. It's like, it's just conflicting advice all over the place, isn't it? What happened before this, huh? You have a great weekend too. I appreciate you. And I appreciate the compliment, Petty Betty, with the, he helped me through a lot with, not just with relationships. Absolutely, hon. All right, folks, it's been good. It's been grand. It is curtains.